Hello Crafting Fam, I am so glad that you could join me today. If you're new, welcome, and I hope you like what you see. And if you're returning, thank you so much for supporting me. I adore you and I appreciate all the support. Today I have a Valentine's tree for you. Now this is the very first Valentine's tree I've ever had. I've never had another tree other than Christmas, and anytime I can decorate my home with anything or redecorate, I absolutely love it and I'm up for the challenge. So I had so much fun doing this video and creating this tree and taking you guys along for the ride. So here we go. Today I have a series of ornaments that I created for my Valentine's Day tree. It's not the same as Christmas where you can just run out and buy ornaments for your tree. So I had a lot of fun creating these. And for the first set, I wanted to create some candy conversation hearts to hang on the tree. And I seen some of the other girls use these same little ornaments. They're the little red plastic hearts that you can fill with candies to give out as Valentines at the Dollar Tree. And so I took 4 of the Waverly chalk paints in pastel colors and I painted each heart a different color. They come 4 to a package, and I took out the little string that comes with them and the little tags, and I just painted each one solid color. And then I took a coordinating marker from my marker set and I drew a line around the edge of each heart to kind of give it that definition, to kind of give it that little bit of an edge that the conversation hearts have. And then in the middle, I took a pink marker and I put like "be mine" or "I love you," and just different little sayings like that, just like the conversation hearts have on them. And then what I wanted to do was go back and create that chalky look because of the kind of candy that the conversation hearts are made out of. They have like almost a chalky texture to them. So I just took each of those paints and I watered them down a little bit, and then I just went over with the brush and lightly painted over each heart again once I had placed the lines around the edges and the sayings in the middle of the hearts. And that gave it sort of like a chalky look, so it almost looks like a real conversation heart. And I thought this would be one of the most simplest projects to do, and it turned out writing on those hearts was not quite as easy as I thought it would be. I almost gave up and used my Cricut, but no, I went ahead and used the markers and they turned out just fine in the end. Once I was done with that, then I went ahead and attached the strings that come with them to the top, and voila, there you have it. There's my candy conversation heart ornament. Now for my second set of ornaments, I just took the wooden string signs, and what I mean by that are they are from the Dollar Tree and they're hanging signs, and they have like 5 wooden hearts to them, and they're the welcome signs. The top one says welcome, and then the others are just little decorated hearts with polka dots and stuff. And I just thought these are so cute. I always pick up these kind of signs at the Dollar Tree because you get so much for $1. You get 5, if you take them apart, you get 5 little hearts for $1. And I just think that's a wonderful deal. And so it's exactly what I did is I took off the connecting ribbon that connected all of the hearts together. And then I just went back and I flipped them over and I cut about a 3-inch sections of ribbon from another coordinating ribbon that I had on hand from the Dollar Tree. And then I just created a little loop and I just hot glued it to the back of these hearts. And voila, there I had 4 little ornaments. And with the 5th heart, I do something a little bit different. And the reason why I did it to this heart was because it's the first heart that says welcome on it. And I didn't particularly want welcome on my tree. But I bought 2 of these string of hearts, and by the time I got to the second string, I was just tired, and I thought, well, next year I'll go ahead and spruce up this welcome heart, and I went ahead and put that on my tree. And so there's one heart on my tree that says welcome, but the other heart, I did something a little bit different. I just flipped that heart over, and I painted it with the Waverly chalk paint in Ballet Slipper. And then I had these window clings that I've been wanting to do something with, and I hadn't had a chance to do anything with them yet. And one had a cute little word that said love on it, and it had a little arrow as part of the word. And so I took that window cling, and I took my Elmer's spray glue. It's like an adhesive, spray adhesive. And I just turned that window cling over and I sprayed it with that spray adhesive. And then you have to hold it for like, I don't know, about 30 seconds or so that it turns from wet to sticky, because it takes a minute for that glue to set up, so it'll be kind of tacky. And then I went ahead and tacked that down to the top of that heart once it had dried. And then I thought, well, this would be cute by itself, but I always have to go a little bit extra. And so I had those felt hearts that you get in a package, and they have that adorable little cutouts that go around the edges that almost look like a doily. And so I took that, and then I took the coordinating ribbon that I used on the other hearts to hang them up with. And it's just a sheer pink ribbon that you can get at the Dollar Tree. And I just went ahead and threaded it through those little cutouts that go around that felt heart until I got all the way back around to the top. And once I was at the top, I went ahead and tied a shoestring bow, just as if you would tie in your shoe. You just tie a normal little bow. And then I was trying to put the heart on by I was going to just push the little red ribbon through the top little cutout there, but that didn't work out like I had intended. So I went ahead and untied the bow, and then I took my hot glue and I glued it. I put it all over the back of the wooden heart, and I just glued it down and held it until the glue set onto the felt heart. So now this heart looks like it has a wonderful little, it almost reminds me of the Victorian Valentines, where they have those little doilies and they do all that really fun, fancy stuff with it. Then I went ahead and retied the shoestring bow and just put a little dab of glue to keep everything together. And I just used the string, the ribbon, the little red ribbon that comes along with that ornament to hang it on the tree. And there you have it. I had 5 wonderful little ornaments to go on my tree. And since I bought 2, I wound up with 10 ornaments for $2. You can't beat that. Now, I had these other ornaments that are Christmas ornaments, and I've had these things for about 15 years. From the very first time I did my candy tree about 15 years ago, and they have been beat up. Let me tell you, they weren't that cute to begin with. And when I bought them with the intention to spruce them up a little bit, and I just never got around to it. So, the last few years, I really haven't used them on my tree because they just looked so bad. But I thought these would be so cute if I refurbished them and used them for the Valentine's tree, since I didn't have a lot of ornaments to go on there anyway. And so what I did was I started by trying to pull off these little candy sprinkles that are on there. And that was easier said than done. Let me tell you what, it was like pulling teeth. I mean, they were on there with these little pens, and the pens were old and kind of rusted in there, and I wound up having to try to clip off as much of the pens as I could. But because I was saving the little cherry on the top of the cupcakes, I couldn't get around that edge, and it was just kind of driving me crazy. But in the end, I got it, and I wound up having to spruce up my cherries a little bit, but that worked out fine because I just used my red marker. And, you know, those handy dandy things, they come in with almost every single project that I do. But I don't remember where I got those markers. I thought it was on Amazon, but I checked and I didn't order them from Amazon. But I will list them. If I can find them, I'll list them below. But they have 2 sides to them, and I am not affiliated with this company whatsoever, but they are good markers, and they help me with every project that I have just about. I do a lot of drawings with markers as well. So what I did was, with 2 of the cupcakes, I just took the Waverly's chalk paint in Ballet Slipper and I painted the tops of them pink. And I was gonna leave it at that, and I just set those aside to dry because they looked adorable just the way they were, like I had pink icing on top of these cupcakes. So I used those handy dandy markers to touch up the cherries and to give the cakes and the cones of my ice creams just a little bit more definition. I just wanted to spruce them up a little bit and make them look just like as if, when you bake a cupcake and you bake them in those liners, it has that little definition where they're darker in some spots and lighter in other spots. And so they were pretty beat up. So I just used 2 different markers for those and then my red marker for the top. Once I was done with that, then I went in with the Dollar Tree caulking, and I just, on the other 2 cupcakes and the ice cream, I just squeezed as much caulking on there as I could get. And then I took one of the stiff brushes that you can get in Crafter's Square at the Dollar Tree, and I just began to swirl around that caulking and brush it until I got it looking as if I had iced it with real icing. And when I was satisfied with that, I set them aside to dry. And then one of the cupcakes, before it dried, I went ahead and placed some of those conversation heart stickers that you can get at the Dollar Tree into the caulking so that when the caulking dried, it would hold them on there. And then I set those aside to dry. And I set those aside to dry overnight because when you put a lot of caulking onto something, it takes a bit of time to dry, and I wanted it completely dry to finish the project. And so the next morning, I went ahead and I added caulking around all of the cherries to the cupcakes so that it looked like whipped cream. And then I took the ice creams and I made sure that all the caulking was to my liking on there, and I set those aside. And then I went back with my handy dandy markers again and I just took the fat end of it and the flat side of that tip, and I just started pressing into the caulking, and it made these little sprinkle effects on there. And I took, 4 or 5 different colors, and I just put them on there in different angles, so just as if you had taken sprinkles and sprinkled it on top. And basically that's it, folks. And then I hung them on the tree and they looked adorable. Once I had gotten done with them, I thought they looked very high end compared to what they did when I started. So now once I was done with all of the ornaments, I went into decorating the tree, and just like a real Christmas tree, you want to make sure your tree is fluffed. You want to make sure all the branches are fluffed and sticking up, and stand back, look at it. If there are any holes, you want to try to fluff out those holes as much as possible. And for those holes that you can't fluff out, you want to take your larger ornaments and you want to kind of stuff those deep into the tree. Now, I took these white ornaments from my Christmas stash and I just transferred them over to this tree. And I'll probably use them again for my Easter tree, just because they're white and they can transfer back and forth. And so I fill up all of the larger holes that I can find, and then I had this mesh left over from Christmas as well. I bought this at Walmart, and I think it's so cute. It's a burlap mesh with a little white ribbon or it's almost a yarn that runs through it. And I started with that, and I just looped it at the top and used the branches of the tree to wrap around it to hold it in place. And then I went back and forth in front of the tree. Now, my tree does sit in front of my double windows in front of the house, but because of the curtains, you really can't see that much of the back of the tree. So I used most of my decorations in front of the tree. So I just went back and forth, looping it around the tree so that it looked as if the garland went all the way around, but it doesn't. It just goes to partially in the back of the tree and then back around again. Once I was done with that, I had bought 4 of the Valentine scarves from the Dollar Tree. And I love these scarves because you can do so much with them. You can use them on wreaths, you can use them on garlands, you can use them on a tree, which is what I'm doing. 2 of them were infinity scarves, so I had to cut them down the seam, but the others were just regular scarves, and I just went back and forth just like I did with the mesh, just to give it that effect as if I was using ribbon or something to decorate the tree with, and it just kind of fills it in and gives it a little pop of color. Once I was done with the scarves, I had this beaded trim that I bought recently at a thrift store, and I got such a great deal on it. They're Martha Stewart. They were brand new. I had to take the packages off of them here, and they were these just beautiful rose and pearl like beaded trim, and there were 5 of them in the package, and they originally sold for $3.99, and I think it's Kmart that has Martha Stewart or had Martha Stewart brand. But anyways, that comes up to like $20 or something, and I bought the whole package for $4.99, so I think I got a great deal there. I love shopping thrift stores, so that's kind of a thrift store find for me. And so I took each one of them and I just draped them on the tree just to give it some beautiful little sparkle and trim. And once I was done with that, then I stood back, and you every now and then you want to stand back and you want to look at your tree and you want to make sure it's to your liking, and then try to adjust whatever you need to adjust before you put the next layer on. And I always want to add like big signs to my tree. I like a tree that's almost falling over with its ornaments. I just think they look so high end, and they look such like a designer tree. When you have all of these ornaments, you almost can't see the tree through the ornaments. And so next year I will probably add to this tree. This is the first year I've ever had a Valentine tree, any kind of tree other than a Christmas tree. So this is my first year with ornaments. And so next year when I go shopping, I'll probably have more ornaments to add to it. However, I took one of those large love signs and just colored it out with my markers. And then I added that to the tree, to the front of the tree. I always do this with all of my trees. You're going to notice I always have some kind of large sign, or 1 or 2, to just pop on the tree, just to give it that like definition, like a statement piece. And so once I had added that, then I had these fun little squiggles that I picked up at Walmart a couple of years ago after Christmas sale. And I started adding them, and then I had forgotten that I had saved the ribbon from the Christmas tree, and I was going to add that too. And normally I would add this right after I added the mesh and the scarves, but I had forgotten it. It was to the side. I had it set into the side, and I just completely forgot about it. So you'll see me here as I grab the ribbon, and I just start by making 3 loops, and then I take the branch of the tree and I wrap it around those loops, and then I give those loops a little fluff, and it almost gives it dimension like a bow on the tree, but you're not actually putting a bow. You're just looping the ribbon and then just putting it in there and letting the tree hold it. And then you take your ribbon and you run it back and forth ever so often, making another 3 loops and just letting the tree branch hold it, and then go back and do it again until you run out of ribbon. And I do that with these 2 ribbons, and then I go back in and I continue to add the rest of my squiggles and the ornaments that I made, as well as ornaments I had stolen or borrowed, not stolen, from my Christmas stash. And I just think that it was turning out so cute, and it is one of these things that I'm finding that I'm loving. Anytime I can decorate my house and I can just put something new out there, I'm all for it. So these trees for every occasion, I am so loving this year. Now, I don't have a bow tutorial, but I will link a bow tutorial from Olivia's Romantic Home below, because this is where I learned to do this particular bow, and it's just the Olivia bow where you loop it over and over. And I did this with some coordinating ribbon, and this is the bow that I had on my Christmas tree. So I just saved it out of my Christmas decorations. I just put it over with the other stuff that I saved from the stash so that I could reuse it on the Valentine's Day tree. And I just used it as my topper and I fluffed it out, and voila, there you have my Valentine tree for 2021. Hey guys, I hope you liked what you saw. That was so much fun. And if you guys get a chance to do your very own Valentine tree, I highly recommend it. And if you guys haven't had a chance yet and you want to follow me on social media and get to know me a little bit better, then my Instagram and my Facebook links are linked below in the description. Go ahead and head on over there and follow me there. And if you guys have your very own Valentine's tree, send me a photo. I would love to see what you guys have done. If you guys are new and you liked what you saw, I hope you hit that subscribe button and that little bell to notify you every single time I upload a video, as well as I hope you all will give me a big thumbs up. That tells YouTube that you liked what you saw, and then they will recommend my video more often, as well as it helps me to let me know that you are liking what you see and you want more. And with that, we'll see you later.